What's up, everybody? This is Alex Winking Michael, and here's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk a little bit about the fallout from Google Stadia. As you know, as everybody on this planet probably knows, that Google announced its new gaming streaming platform, Stadia. And we covered that in yesterday's video, along with the other 500,000 people on YouTube that also covered it. But today we're going to talk a little bit about the fallout from that announcement. So yesterday at GDC, Google makes the announcement, and then today, and even yesterday it kind of started, the gaming companies, its competitors now, are feeling the impacts of that. So we've had a couple of the big heavy hitters take a little bit of a hit in the stock market, while others may have gained from Google partnering with them. But let's jump into some articles here. I got two articles today. As always, the articles are referenced in the description of the video below. Let's just take a look at what we're dealing with. Right out of the gate, CNBC is talking about this. Now, keep in mind, these numbers are in Japan, so this is Tokyo stock market. So keep that in mind when you look at the shares and pricing, as you'll see it below. But courtesy of CNBC, says shares of Sony and Nintendo tumble as Google unveils video game ambitions. Shares of Nintendo and Sony took a hit following Google's unveiling of its streaming platform. Google's entrance into the console gaming sector, well, that's arguable. I guess it's just technically the gaming sector since there is no console for Stadia. But their interest in the console gaming sector has raised questions over the future of companies such as Sony and Nintendo, which have long dominated the space along with Microsoft. And this next bullet point I absolutely agree with. One analyst, however, said the markets are overreacting to the news as gaming is a very tough nut to crack. This is absolutely correct. This is a big overreaction. It's to be expected, honestly. When someone comes out with a major announcement that is entering your space, it is only natural, only normal that people would react and people would start to panic and start to sell off shares, which would in turn drive the price down. But what are we talking about here? Shares of Japanese video gaming heavyweights Nintendo and Sony tumbled on Wednesday following Google's unveiling on Tuesday of its game streaming platform. And so here's where we get into some of the live numbers. Nintendo, the storied game maker behind popular franchises such as Pokemon and Super Mario, saw its stock drop 3.21% on the day. Meanwhile, Japanese shares of PlayStation maker Sony also fell 3.38%. These are not alarming numbers by any stretch of the imagination. Like I said, this is a typical cause and effect of someone having a major announcement, the internet and consumer reacting very positively to said announcement. Therefore, this is the consequence of that reaction. Again, nothing to be alarmed about at all. One thing that they do say down here that is really interesting is a couple of notes that I want to share with you. Google's foray into cloud gaming is unlikely to, quote, dramatically impact the next cycle of console sales, though it might start to pick up some users that are not ready to spend $400 on a console at launch. This is actually very well said because this is 100% true. At some point, Stadia, if it's one, is able to do what it says it's going to do, and two, it is a stable platform that actually works, it 100% will tap into the console market, at least in some capacity. I mean, for me personally, it's going to be hard for me to let go of my consoles and my physical copies of things. However, if Stadia does work as promised, I'm 100% on board with not having them. I'm 100% on board with just having a cloud-based platform that I can purchase games from and use that. I think that there's at least a few people, maybe a certain market share, certain demographic of people that would share the same sentiment as me. They're going to shed the brick console, bye, see you later, buying everything through Stadia, and that's the end of it. And probably Steam or whatever else you're loyal to, but you're going to digitize yourself. I think that that's inevitable. I do feel like there will be at least some impact, maybe minor, on the next cycle of consoles. We'll get into this next part. Another analyst characterized today's market moves in Tokyo as a, quote, overreaction. Google is a powerhouse and Stadia looks very promising, but gaming is a very tough nut to crack. Serkan Toto, CEO of game industry consultancy firm Kantan Games, told CNBC in an email. So obviously there's still many questions surrounding the Stadia and what exactly it's going to do. Right here in this chart, you see the numbers. Look at Microsoft. They virtually took no change over this. Google only went up. This is actually the U.S. market right here. I mean, they literally went up $7, which I thought was interesting. So Google really did not, their stock didn't move hardly at all from this. I figured this would generate a lot more excitement, possibly drive their number a little higher. But below these weird random numbers, this is the Tokyo designation for Sony is this one and Nintendo is this one. These look like substantial drop-offs number-wise. Keep in mind this is in yen, so we're looking at 3.38% and 3.21% respectively. Let's pop into the next article. So who gained from this? Well, AMD definitely gained from this. Wow. Holy cow. Basically when Google Stadia announced that they were working with AMD and ATI Radeon, it helped them boost them significantly, and they needed it. Courtesy of The Street, AMD extends gain after Google picks Radeon GPUs for new Stadia gaming platform. This helped AMD tremendously. Advanced Micro Devices shares extended gains Wednesday after Alphabet, Google, said the chip maker's Radeon GPUs as well as its developer tools will be used in Google's new video game streaming service Stadia. AMD will provide its custom-made chip for the Google Stadia rollout, along with software development tools and an open-source Vulkan driver, as it seeks to keep pace with rival NVIDIA's NVDA GeForce Now cloud gaming service. That's probably a big reason why Google went with AMD, because at this point, NVIDIA is basically a direct competitor to Google. That is an interesting move and also speculation on my part, but I think that makes the most sense business-wise. AMD CEO Lisa Su told investors in January that data center and GPU growth were key to the company's improved earnings guidance. And Jim Cramer, which I'm not sure, surely everybody's heard of Jim Cramer, famous stock guy that yells all the time, has a show. The action in AMD yesterday showed that gaming was just on pause. We had wall-to-wall coverage on Stadia from Google yesterday. I think it will move Google more today. So Jim Cramer is basically predicting that, Google's only going to stand to gain from this announcement, and as it just continues to gain more momentum and more press and things like that. Here's what happened to AMD. AMD shares were marked 2.7% higher at the opening bell Wednesday, following yesterday's surge of 11.8%. That put the stock at the top of the S&P 500, and we're changing hands at $26.65 each. The move extends the stock's year-to-date gain to 43% and values the Santa Clara, California group at around $27 billion. Wow. So, AMD absolutely gained from that announcement. AMD is a great, reputable company. I don't think that they'll have any trouble working with Google on Stadia. But that's just a few of the winners and losers. Now, in summary, should we panic? Absolutely not. This means almost nothing. These are early numbers. This is everybody coming down from the high of, oh my gosh, Google Stadia is going to change gaming. Well, it is, but it kind of isn't in a way. I talked about that in my video yesterday a little bit about how I feel like they should enter the market with this thing as far as driving the pricing through purchases through a storefront as opposed to a subscription-based service, which it looks like more and more I think they're going to do that. I think they're going to have a pretty robust storefront and then have all the features that Stadia has to be utilized for consumers. And it looks like that's going to be the case. But I think it's going to take a while. Like I said yesterday, a slow, painful death for consoles. I think it's going to take a while for consoles to really kind of die out. We're definitely going to see next generation consoles, but who knows? The generation after that may be affected greatly by this. Maybe Sony and Microsoft and Nintendo all go to a digital-based platform like Google has. But we'll have to see how it all goes. But anyway, I hope everybody has a great rest of the day. I just want to say thank you all so much for the support, and let me know what you guys think about Stadia, what you think about these finances and these numbers, and what you think is going to happen moving on in the future. I love to read your comments. Please like and subscribe if you will, if you want to see more videos like this. But that's everything I got for you today, and I will see you guys on the next one.